Hello and welcome to the Proper Scoundrels podcast. I am Blake, joined by my boy Jeremiah.
Hello, I am Davros.
Topic of the day is the good and the bad boss, and we don't really have a script. We're just going to try to see where it goes and talk about some of the people we've kind of admired and what made them great, and then talk about some of the people that we learned some pretty bad lessons from.
Absolutely. And I think we're coming to this in a really cool way because we both worked for some of the boss figures that we're going to talk about today. And we've both had good and bad bosses in our separate careers. So I think it's going to be good.
We also worked for people together that the same person was the good and bad boss in a sense. There's good qualities about different people.
I think there are also sometimes appropriate and inappropriate expectations for leadership.
Very. Yeah, that's a great point, actually.
So let's start by recounting some of the shit show that we had together. We worked for a small service in a small county in a small state, probably the smallest one on the whole planet. There's probably not any place smaller than where we worked. And there were, we're talking less than 50 employees affiliated with this place. And we had one major boss that was loud, and man, she was a big hot mess all the time. Now, she was both a good and a bad boss.
Yeah. What would you say some of her qualities were that made her good at what she did?
So one thing I'll always talk about for her was her loyalty to us, to the people under her. If you were from above or if you were from outside and you attacked one of us, you were going to get the damn fangs of that snake. She was going to bite you and bite you hard. Uh, you know, she had a mixed reputation with the corporate entities above her and with the government that we were contracted to work for.
Yeah.
But one of her absolute strengths was her loyalty. She could be pissed off as hell at you, and somebody from outside could come in and say something about you, and she would still destroy that person.
You know, that's interesting you say that because I never saw that, which understand I was always away from headquarters. I was always out and about throughout the county that we were working in. So I never got to see that side of her. I'll have to take your word on it.
I am absolutely certain that at some point in time she stood up for you by name.
She
Uh,
probably did, to be honest with you. I just never saw it.
Now, that same loyalty was also one of her weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
There were times that employees needed to face some disciplinary correction. And I mean, it's just obvious. Like anybody looking at it would be like, oh, no, that person should be fired. And,
Mm-hmm.
people think all kinds of things should be fired. It doesn't mean that they should be fired. But she was so loyal, especially to certain employees, that they never were corrected. And if they needed to be, that was swept under a rug. It was hidden. It was gone, which set up a lot of animosity amongst other people. And those people never got to grow from their mistakes.
Yeah. And admittingly, I had some of that animosity built up because it was like I could get chastised for a decision or lack of decision that was made, not the right one. And other people are just kind of free reigning. So that was some of the animosity that I harbored towards her.
Yes. And I think she was new to leadership,
Yeah.
and she was new to leadership. She was outside of her home. She had moved to this area to take this position. So she was pretty isolated. So the only people she had were her employees.
And, in her defense, we talked about like um the county we worked for, her being an outsider, like it is extremely difficult to thrive in that county being an outsider, you know. It's extremely difficult. So I think she had a pretty hard time just on that aspect of it.
Completely agree. And, a lot of people said that it had something to do with her being a woman. I don't think that it did so much. Um, this all started pre-COVID, and especially in that time frame, small town politics, everybody knows everyone. You can backdoor a favor for anything, and then all of a sudden they weren't able to. The county was dealing with a major corporation and with corporate players and corporate rules, and they were dealing with a corporation that had a budget that you know uh, the state didn't have a budget like the corporation did.
Mhm.
So there was all these uh, delicate political landmines to navigate, and I don't think that was her uh, that was her strengths at all. And being somebody who did navigate that landfill a little bit, and I think I am kind of good at it. Man, it's still it will pop off on you at any given time for any reason.
Yeah.
And I look back on it, and I don't know that I learned anything that made me better from her. I might have learned some things that she did that I was like, I'm not going to do those things.
Yeah, for sure.
And but I also, if it had not been for her exploding the way that she did at the end, uh, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have had that position or that opportunity at all. So, you know,
Yeah. And, I think she had a very good heart towards her. I think there was some good merit there. Um, One of the things that I learned from her early on is like she wanted to be a good person. I think she had a lot of good intent by every decision she made. Sometimes it wasn't the right decision for the climate she was in. I could say that. But I think there's always good intent behind it. I don't think she was doing anything that was uh malice. Well, early on I don't think there's any malice, you know.
yeah, I know when I did take over for her, and at first it was kind of a shadow takeover, and then it was more he is now making these decisions. I had a disciplinary issue with one of her friends, and I didn't even get involved. I was like, no, these are my friends as well. These are people that I spend hours with on a near daily basis. I'm not the one to make any of these decisions. I'm just going to surmise what happened. I'm going to collect. Um, I'm going to collect facts. I'm not going to get into any of the opinions. I'm going to collect facts. These things happened, and these things can be proved. And I pass those up to a human resources person above me. And somewhere in that process, it got intercepted and changed.
Mm,
And
really?
yeah, and one of the things, one of the things that really pissed me off about the whole situation was I gave both of the people that I was investigating or whatever it was called, uh, I sent the same email to both of them. So
Oh,
they knew exactly what I sent to HR.
that shows what's the word I want to say? Well, good for you for doing that because
Yeah.
there's no like, what did he say? Did he fabricate something? That good on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I sent it and then I blind carbon copy, or I think I just carbon copied them so that everybody knew, hey, this is what I'm saying. This is what's coming from my seat. And there's nothing backdoored about it. It's full transparency. This is what happened this day. These are the events that took place. And there's no recommendation. It's not for me to make any recommendation at all. But I believe that she got involved and she liked one more than the other. And so one got a final warning and one got a, just, it was a bad day kind of thing.
Hmm.
And, I don't think that any part of it was fair. I don't think either one of them deserved to get a final warning or anything else. But, um,
Was that the event that you like witnessed at headquarters?
yes,
Thank God I was not around that day. I think I had left by then, didn't I?
I had only witnessed the blow up part of it. I
Okay.
had to gather all the parts that came to that point. But yeah, so it's just like, oh Lord. It's like, I'm really just here to do a schedule, man. I'm just really good at planning and logistics and stuff. I don't want to do this part.
I will say I think the first year is probably the hardest on any new person in leadership. From your experience, what do you think about that?
So, my history is a little bit different because I came from a big organization where you kind of got eased into it in little steps. You know, you started out with, you know, you're now in charge of this unit. This this vehicle is yours, and everything about this is yours. And so you have, you know, two, four, five people that you're now over and responsible for, but you've got somebody that's directly over you telling you how to do it, not really micromanaging, hopefully. But you've got, as that officer role in that unit, you had your officer right above you who was holding your hand through it all. And so it was you got to make a lot more mistakes without it really mattering.
Good. That's great.
Yeah. And now some of the things that I've seen is people filling a role or catching a role in an odd timing situation that they're not prepared for, that they're not probably qualified for, and it's kind of more of a you'll do situation.
Hmm.
I have rarely seen those go well because a lot of times when I have seen those situations, it's been usually a popularity thing. Whoever's most popular is probably going to get it, and they're probably going to maintain that same popularity. And I know that this is something you experienced as you came into leadership roles. When you're in that big chair, you're not the same person. You are that chair.
Yes.
So yeah, and I know that you took steps to lower your social media presence and to really control what, especially your subordinates, but probably also your the guys above you. uh, we're able to learn about you from, social networks and social engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something interesting to talk about.
Sure.
I do not want a leader that is a jackass in his personal life.
Yeah, and part of my big push to clean up Facebook and stuff like that is like the person I was in 2011 is completely different than who I am present day. And the post that I made back in 2011 really doesn't accurately reflect who I am today. There was a lot of immaturity, I can say that, and I think everybody goes through that phase, especially when you get social media, um, an adolescent or a teenager. I think I was a teenager when I got it, but early teens when I got social media. And, there was a lot of stuff that I did not want to surface. Well, not really surface, but I didn't want to. It puts me in a weird light. For example, any political post, I do not make a single political post anymore. And if I find memories of it, I delete them. Not that I don't want my political nature to show, I just don't want it to represent me in any way, shape, or form. I don't even talk about politics when I'm at work. That is a no go for me. I will not discuss them.
Yeah, I agree, man. I've told you, and I've been for the past I don't know, probably the past 9 months or more. Every day, I have this little mindful exercise where I go on Facebook and I flip over to memories and I delete all of them,
Every one
and
of them.
all of them. Because, like you, when I first started doing Facebook stuff, I didn't have the same maturity and social awareness that I do now. And this really came to light um, about a year ago or so. I was transitioning from one job to another, coming back here to where I am now. And somebody quickly found a whimsical picture of me online and on Facebook and posted information that I wasn't altogether ready to share. It was nothing untrue. It was nothing harmful. It was nothing at all. It was a person that I at first did not like at all, but then had gotten to where I'm like, all right, when he's with me, he works well, so I have to respect that. And so I began to respect him um, because of the effort he put in when he was working with me. Like personally, I don't know if I respected him or not, but I did learn during that time that I did not know him outside of that very specific framework of him working with me. So, but he posted a little rest in peace of me in the clouds, and I think I was a Halloween costume, and it's just like, okay, I mean, I put it out there, I can't be mad.
Yeah.
He found out that I was leaving, and there was nothing to say he couldn't do it, but it did uh, create a lot of conversations that I was just really trying to avoid, you know. But yeah, so I looking back at that time when I was running the service where we were, I had a lot of people come to me, people that were my friends and still are friends, work friends, not like life friends, but they'd come to me and they'd be like, "You're different. We're worried about you. You are so different. You're never happy. You're never joking. You're never making us laugh." And my answer was always the same. It's the seat that I'm occupying right now. I can't. I can't be the same person that I was when I wasn't in this position. I have way too many things to look at, and I have to be different for this because I owe it to you. I would expect the person sitting in this seat to be sober, to be clear, to be smart, and to be focused. So, a lot of people thought that they would just have their same friend in that seat, and I wasn't. I had to set aside a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions about there were people that I was like, I wish you would just drop off the planet. And
Yeah.
but I couldn't do that. I am their whatever I was, and they had the same access and the same expectations of me that the people that I embraced had. So it just had to be that way. I think in those popularity situations, you have a lot of people that are like, "Oh, my boy got it. Yeah, now I'm gonna be able to cut up and do some shit, and I'm not gonna have to worry about it because it's my boy." And a lot of times, that's true.
Yeah. And when I got in my leadership position, the thing that got me out, so I had a really rocky start going into it. Some of that was my fault. Some of it was not reading the room on my part. And in your first year, your first months, whatever, you're going to have people that are going to try to test you and get your medal, right? So, uh, some of the lessons, one from mentors and peers that I absolutely respected outside of my agency. I would never ask somebody inside my agency what I should do or what they think about of a situation. I always asked other people. But I got a lot of leadership lessons from Dick Winter's book and how he handled things. There's two words that a lot of the men would say to each other of easy company, and they would say hang tough. And that's what I had to do for 3 or 4 months until the storm blew over, was just hang tough. But one thing that Dick Winters said, and it goes back to your point, is he had to separate himself from the men, his NCOs, and other officers. He had to separate and make that very fine line. And my fine line was going in the office, and shutting my door. If you need me, you come get me. Now, if I notice the guys are outside, like washing the truck, I would get up, I would go out there to help them, to show that I'm that working person. But in the same time, as soon as that's done, and now we're just sitting around smoking and joking, I was gone. And that's one of the things that really helped me. And I wasn't in my office just fucking off. I was doing things.
That's totally what I call fucking off, doing things, important things.
They were
I'm OF,
important.
I'm OFO.
I was fucking off.
Fuck yeah, yeah. I'm back and forth with that. I think it's good. I think it's bad, and I'm gonna not judging. I hope I don't sound that way.
No, this is good conversation. I appreciate that.
So when you would go out and you would work with them and you would wash the truck with them, who did that serve? You or them?
I don't know how to answer that question. So, it did a couple things because, you know, just a few weeks before I was out on the floor with the guys and I would hear the conversations that they would say. I was on a different shift, obviously, because whenever you promote, you normally move somewhere else. Um, but I
Well,
was
who
on,
was it? Who was it that said you can't be a prophet in your own town? Maybe Jesus or somebody. I don't know. Daniel. Nah.
I don't know.
It stands true. And that's something that I've seen very effectively with most organizations. Most organizations will not promote you within your bubble, within your company. You'll have to go to another one. at least for a while until you get your legs under you and then come back.
I absolutely agree with it, to be honest with you. But back to washing that truck, like the guys would always say, like the officer's nowhere to be found when the work's to be done, you know. And I never wanted that to be me. I would go out and work with them. Same thing when it was, we called it nightlies. You just did your chores, you know, clean the station and stuff like that. When it was time for that, I was cleaning. But as soon as we were done, I got gone.
So, you and I came up in the same industry, and that becomes a token of certain people. Like if my guys are out there washing the truck, I'm out there washing the truck. Well, maybe I need you to be doing those reports that you have the access to do. Maybe something like cleaning the truck, something I can handle. And, maybe it makes me feel good that uh, I'm out there with the people that I'm leading, but maybe that's not the most useful place for me. Now, I've always been a big night shift guy. I've always felt the most comfortable on night shift, mostly because I've got a really smart mouth that gets away from itself sometimes, and there's less chances for trouble. But when I did start leading the organization that we were at, I would typically come in for the night shift and stay over through the day shift and then go home and do my little um, mental balance time. When I would come in, I always had my process. I came in, I took report from whoever I was relieving. I looked at my shift to make sure it was staffed, and if I needed anything, I looked at the shift coming up and looked for any staffing issues that it might need. And then I cleaned the office, and then I went outside and I cleaned the command car. I didn't ask anybody to do either of those functions for me. I didn't expect anyone to do any of those functions for me, but it was noticed that I always did those things. So when I did go out and I found dirty vehicles, I could be like, mine's not. My work's done. My reports are in. My patient charts are complete. I've led by example on keeping all of my ducks in a row. So it's I'm back and forth with leader on the floor whenever minimal work is going to be done.
Yeah, so I think there's pros and cons to both of them. You know, um, that was just my style, and
Mhm.
I think that it's important that there is many different styles. My style just worked for me.
I will say this, that if I had ever been told, did you
Did
die?
you hear? Did you hear that?
No, but you just
Good.
went away, but it looked terrible. It looked like you got shot in the face.
I sneezed and I had to cut my mic off.
Yeah, no, if anybody had ever told me to go out and wash the truck and then sat in the office, I would have remembered that. I can tell you. I promise.
Yeah.
But um but yeah, when it comes to I was having a conversation with somebody, and he was like, "Hey, my role is not to come out there and wash the truck with you. I've got duties and responsibilities you may not understand, or you may not like, or you may not know what they are, but I have my own duties and responsibilities, and while I'm taking care of those, you need to take care of these responsibilities that are more on your level." And it always felt kind of bad. I was like, "Sounds like you're real happy to tell me to go outside and wash the truck." I mean, I would have done it, but now that you told me, I don't want to.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, but at one point in time, he and I were having a conversation. He ended up being a pretty decent leader in my life, and he was like, "Look, man," he was like, "all these guys are talking about being out there washing the truck with the guys. That's cool, it's like whatever. He's like, but they have other responsibilities that they are ignoring when they're doing that. He's like, and he's like, maybe their chiefs are okay with them getting it late so they can be out there scrubbing tires or whatever. He said, but that's just a daily responsibility that's at a level that's assigned to a level that's appropriate to do it. He said, you're not going to see any of them have to come in and do these daily reports.
Yeah, so to make it clear, like if I had reports or something like that, that was taking priority because that was 100% my job. Um, the organization I worked for, it was acceptable to have a lower man to do reports. No, I was the company officer, and I was expected to make sure they were complete at the end of the shift, so I did them. And that was when you come to my station. I had a list of expectations, and I had them out, and I had the list of my responsibilities. So you completely understand what I'm required to do. And I invited the people that I was with, like, hey, next shift, I'm going to have a list of expectations for you. If you have expectations for me as your officer, I expect to see them. Um, eh, Obviously, they weren't going to get away with stuff, you know. But if they had an expectation of me, I wanted to know it so where I could meet their needs. Because as a leader, you are a servant to others. Um, that's just part of the territory. You have to look out for your people. Um, but setting expectations from the get go is very paramount. And I would tell them like, hey, all these charts, I will not make you write a single chart that you're here. I will do every one of those. Um, and if there's something happening and I have to do my charts, like after every run, I'm going to that computer. I'm doing those charts. There's nothing that's going to come in between us. So if we're in the middle of doing something, I'm doing those charts, you know?
You know, I was sitting here thinking that I feel like what we're talking about without saying the words is the character of leadership
Yeah.
and how someone's character can directly influence the perception of their leadership.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, because I think, um, especially as a young recruit, as a young fireman, uh, and especially as a young paramedic, to be given that role and um, to have to have a role where you're the guy making the decisions, but you're under a guy who's not qualified to make them.
Hmm.
That can really become uh, a delicate situation that can fly around real fast. But there were a lot of times that I really got angry at the people who were leading me because I'm like, I have certain responsibilities because of my license that I must do these things. And these things are required from my employer, from the governing body of my license, from the state that I work for, and the medical director who has said I can go out and do these things. And you're not involved in that at all. But you're telling me that I need to go scrub a toilet instead of doing these things that I need to do.
I had a similar issue. I think we talked about it. When I was just when I left EMS in that lull period where I went to the fire department, um, I was a fire medic. I was probably a 2 weeks at the organization, and I had somebody with a less certification with a higher rank try to dictate what they wanted me to do on a call, and it was not something that I could do, that I was gonna do. How do you navigate something like that since we're more on that subject? Because it was hard for me, man.
Well, yeah, I was interviewing for a job with a a government agency, a government service, and I like going through it. I was like, "There's no way that I'm going to work here. If I will get fired, and if I don't get fired, I'll probably kill one of them with my bare hands. I don't even have bare hands. I got human hands. I would have gone out and got some bare hands and killed one of them with it. It was the epitome of bro leadership.
Yeah, okay.
So much so that I was given a um, the email they sent me to tell me when I should come for my interview. I was told that I should wear business casual attire. Business casual can include a button-down shirt. Now, I'm one of those weird guys. I know what a button-down shirt is. Do you know what a button-down shirt is?
Buttons all the way down.
You're frozen.
Buttons all the way down.
No.
Okay. Is that a polo?
Holo.
Is that what they call a button down?
Button down. Buttons all the way. Button up. Because you almost always start from the bottom unless you're a cholo. And and you come up the line. That is a button up shirt. So they put forth what I should wear, and I was wearing a button up and a tie and some slacks and most likely some skater shoes because me. And I heard some of them talk about me at one point in time. And just as it went on, I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to work for this organization. I'm not going to devote my time, my energy, my talents here. But I was about to walk out and they were like, we'd like you to come to this structured interview. And so I go into it and the two people interviewing me walk in wearing some Crocs, some shorts that were not like PT shorts, just like some casual shorts, T-shirts for their organization and carrying their uniform. They hung it up on a hook behind them. And we were talking and I had a lot of fun with it. But at one point they asked me, they said, can you define command presence? And I said, yes, I can. It's when everybody in the room knows who to follow, even if that's not the person with the highest rank. So that's a very long rabbit trail to answer your question. I think there comes a time where you either have to fake or you actually have a certain amount of confidence in what you're doing. And especially when you're dealing with somebody who outranks you in organization, but not in ability. And I had a lot of those circumstances. And luckily, I've always been competent enough that word got around that I wasn't a jackass and that I knew what I was doing. So I would rarely have those situations. Every now and again, I would have somebody who was a superior to me ask me why I'm doing something or why I'm not doing something. And as long as I could justify that I had considered it or that it wasn't necessary because of, so long as they felt like I had a grasp on it, I never really had a problem. Now, I saw a lot of other people just get absolutely eaten by them and get ran up and down long, unnecessary workups and things like that. And it was all because they lacked confidence in what they were doing, confidence and competence. It's real easy to be cocky and wrong. So
One
I
person
think
comes to mind.
yes. I don't know how you could say one person. I could say so many.
Yeah. And just one person that we know that was like the epitome of cockiness.
He backed some of it up.
Some.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't
this
know. I'm
dude,
I'm thinking of like at least five different people.
the guy I'm thinking about, he was telling me about this call and like it sounded so bad. Like the call was just a complete shit show. And I'm sitting there listening to it. I was like, that's insane that that happened to you. And then the more I listened to him, the more it clicked that I was there and 90% of it did not happen. And I just sit there and listen to him. I was like, man, that's a great story. Like, you should probably write that down somewhere. Like, that's a good one.
It's going to be in your memoirs. Yeah. No, I can think of five people that you and I were mutual with that to, they were breakfast table heroes, but probably shit in their pants when it was actually happening.
hmm
And yeah, so I think with any kind of profession, whether it be, graphic design or life saving, you better be able to cash a check that your ass writes.
So let's kind of talk about the bad boss and like you mentioned micromanager. I think we use that term pretty freely. What is your definition of a micromanager?
I absolutely cannot stand when somebody assigns a task to me and then tries to tell me how to do the task that I've been assigned. To me, that is micromanagement. I'm like, why didn't you just do it?
Yeah. The unnecessary follow-ups too. Like I think that's a good hallmark of said micromanager. I think that happens a lot.
Yeah, I like that lady that comes on the internet that tells you how to professionally tell people to fuck off and things like that. Have you ever seen her?
No.
Oh, I like her. But yeah, so I absolutely one of the things that I hate most is the time bomb management, micromanager. Hey, I need you to do this for me really fast.
Mm,
It's like, do you need it completed really fast? Do you need me to do it really fast? Does it need to be correct? It's like, I need to know more. And it's like, if you don't give me a time frame, I'm probably going to wait for you to ask for it again because I'm not going to believe you. But if you tell me, hey, I need this done in the next 4 hours, this is now my top priority, and I'll probably have it done in 45 minutes.
hmm
But when you tell me I need this done really fast, to me, that's like, hey, I'm sitting up in a position on a grassy knoll and I'm just watching you drive by. And I'm
hmm
probably going to eliminate you for my own benefit.
Yeah, like I 100% agree with that. You know, one of the other things I can't stand is like those spastic ones that like they just show up like, hey, this got to get done right now, and it's like, okay, now you're like putting unneeded stress on me. You know, like let's not be spastic about it. There's ways we can work around it.
Yes. I I do not like a reactive manager. Like I do want some reaction, I want some feedback, I want some information, but I could not stand when I had a lieutenant or a captain, especially in my early days. They were like, "Oh, Chief's coming by. Chief's coming down on this. This is bad. This is bad. We're all screwed. It's all, we got to do this. We got to do this because the chief, because the chief, because the chief." I had a lieutenant. He was like, Chief's pissed about some things, but as long as we do what we're supposed to do, we won't ever have to worry about it.
You know what? Speaking about that, that's one of the things I absolutely can't stand is like I used to have this one individual, and you know him. I'll probably have to tell you offline who it is, but I worked with them, and they were notorious about, hey, LT, captain, whatever they were. I want to do this. Oh, Chief's not going to allow that. Yeah, Chief ain't going to allow that, or we're doing something outside. He's like, yeah, Chief's not going to like this. Chief told us we've got to stop that. Come to find out, Chief never said shit. And what it is I'm using somebody else's rank because they are the highest to influence what you want. You know, that's something I can't stand at all.
Yes. And I know exactly how those people are. It to me, it feels like they're saying, I'm not going to be able to take credit for that, so I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Hmm.
We're texting. We text each other stuff, so it doesn't come on, even though I edit it out. Anything that identifies us. Yeah. Yeah. I experienced that with him as well. I just didn't care. I still was doing my thing.
Yeah, and one, I think that's pretty cowardice, to be honest with you. You know, just say like, "Hey guys, I don't like that you're doing this. We're gonna stop." Okay, roger that. You know, we'll move on.
Yeah. And I think I got corgied in
Yeah,
OnlyFans. OnlyFans, you're here for the corgi butthole. There it went, right there. Apparently, it's going to be in everyone. Uh, yeah, I just I'm a big proponent of change. Let's change and let's what is
progress.
it? Uh let's become the most efficient beast that we can. We cannot consider ourselves efficient if we don't try and do anything better.
Yes.
Now maybe we try something and it's not better, but we just go back to the last thing that worked well. It's easy.
What did Thomas Edison say when he was making the light bulb? That he like it took him 100 or so attempts, and he was like, I had it wasn't 99 failures, it was 99 uh learning experiences. I can't remember his quote.
99 ways not to do it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. It's not that I failed 99 times, it's that I learned 99 times of ways not to do something.
Yes, that was it.
And I agree. It's like there was a time when I was on a trunk company and we saw online a new way of deploying, and we wondered if we could do it. And so we grabbed our truck and we went out to the yard and we tried it. We tried to do some of the stuff that they were doing on the videos that we were watching and see how realistic it could be. And from that, we, sent a video to our chief. Hey, we tried this. This works well. We'd like to put it into practice for the next 30 days. And we'll see how it works. We'll rate it. In practice, it works pretty well. We don't know how it'll work in reality. Our chief was behind it. He was like, let me know in 30 days. And, there were certain parts that worked well. There were certain parts that didn't work well. But also, we were a team that had a level of competence where it was like, yeah, I'm going to let these guys try this.
Hmm.
Where, you know, if somebody was like, hey, We're going to ice down the pad in front of the truck and just be able to slide out instead of having to drive out. No. Chief said no.
Theoretically, it'll work.
Yeah. Chief said no. It's like you never even saw me go and ask him, but Chief said no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think back to my early days, like as a very junior fireman, like my very first career department I ever worked for. And great department. I was immature, but I was assigned to a rescue company and I probably had the worst boss that I've ever worked for. Um but I learned some really good stuff about him. You know, I learned what not to do. I learned what I did not like about him. And I think that really helped guide me into my me just growing in general. Um One of the things he was really big on is like abusing, not abusing in the proverbial sense, but like um just not treating his firemen right. I remember one incident that we had a call, and after the call was over, we utilized our chainsaws, and our rescue company had a good many chainsaws and rotary equipment on. And you know, we're gonna clean it up. We're gonna make it look nice. We're gonna refuel it, sharpen it, and it's gonna be ready to go. And I'll never forget. I was at the front of the truck cleaning the saw off. You know, trying to really work on this one saw. And he opened up the door where all the other saws are, and he was like, "Hey, come here real quick." So he interrupted me from my task for me to move a box out of the way, set it down, grab another saw out, and hand it to him. And that was one of the things I will never forget. Um, you know, as a leader, there's a certain part where you've got to kind of do things on your own, and you can't abuse the youth around you. You know, and to to my own fault, like I probably deserved it. Like I probably deserved some of that stuff. So I'm not gonna say he was completely bad because I was a kind of a dipshit back then. I still am, but I'm more wise one.
Yeah, I don't I think another characteristic of poor bosses is you're not my coworker, you're my resource. I'm going to
Yeah.
use you to do things, but I'm not going to treat you with any kind of equality or any kind of respect. I see that a lot in and again in those situations where and the you'll do's. Like, well, we really want somebody better, but you'll do right now.
You know,
And
I heard of. Go ahead.
when you have somebody who's in a you'll do position and then you get somebody who's better than them, man, that is just lava coming through water.
You know, I've heard that a good quote of mentor of mine said was, You will always be promoted to your highest level of incompetence."
Did Hermosi say that? Is that a Hermosi?
I can tell you who told me that, but I don't know who originally said it.
Who told you that?
Uh, I don't know if you know him, but his name's Archie Hirschman.
Yeah, so I've heard that before, and it has been scientifically proven to be incorrect. You will
Disagree.
be you will be promoted well above your highest level of incompetence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I have heard that and I agree with it. Um and a lot of people get promoted way above their level of competence. They are in positions way higher than they deserve to be in, and they don't even know that they're horribly out of horribly out of the pond.
Yeah. So what how do you handle those bosses that are the used car salesman? Like they will tell you exactly what you want to hear, but they are going to run back to whoever's higher and telling everything and like putting people against each other just for their own personal gain. How do you handle something like that?
You know, I learned this a while ago working in one of those minefield situations where everything's going to explode.
Hmm.
Um, Call me whatever you want to call me a snitch, call me a tell all, call me anything you want to. Lieutenant Joe Bob said this, and I wrote it down. And that's something that I have really taken in. I think I've practiced it as a leader, and it's just about transparency and accountability. It is, I said this, this is what I did, this is what I was told to do, this is what I saw happen. It's not about, you know, so if I did something wrong, yes, I did something wrong. Did I mean to do something wrong? Probably not. If I did mean to do something wrong, I'm probably not going to admit to it. If I didn't intend to do it wrong, I'm probably just going to take it and be like, yeah, I did that wrong. What do I need to do to fix it? Is there anything I need to do right now? And in these situations, in those used car situations, you can usually figure them out pretty quickly. I start keeping notes on them. I'm like, man, and well, but I've also told people it's like in the past you have told me X, Y, and Z, and there was no X, Y, or Z. There wasn't even a W or a single U, nothing. You know, you start holding people accountable that way, and they start getting really scared. They start, yeah, it's like, oh man, I got to deal with this one a little bit different because he's going to remember this stuff and he's going to put it back on my plate.
Hmm. Yeah, we had that issue with an individual that was like he was pitting people against each other, and it was a really toxic place to work at. And finally, he migrated on, thankfully. But there for a while, it was, you had shifts and turmoil. Like you had shifts that were pitted against other shifts, and anytime this individual worked over, like he wasn't even on my shift per se, but if he worked over, like there was so much stuff that was happening. And finally, the problem eliminated itself. But I think one of the biggest things is like we as shifts had to stand together and say, like, the line's here. We're going to hold this line. We're not going to let this stuff affect us. And our shift didn't have that many issues. Other shifts had a lot.
Another thing that you can do is you can decide not to be in a toxic situation.
Yeah.
And, there was a guy named John Lovell who spoke to me one night and made me leave a toxic situation. And I wondered, I was like, all right, did I fail? Was I the problem? And I've talked to people who were there before, who left before me, who left after me, who came after me and left after me. And they're like, no, that area is just really toxic and only toxic people are going to thrive there. And I'm like, oh, good, because I really worried that I failed, but I did make a decision. It's like, I'm not going back. I'm not going to do this to myself. I'm not going to do this to my reputation. I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm out. I'm done.
Wow.
You
I
know,
think that's the hardest thing to do because, change is scary. And leaving a job it can be scary, especially if you've invested time in there and energy and you've got your friends there and things like that. Uh,
yeah, that's something that uh I really think about. with my work now. And it's hard because I'm in a very different place. I'm at a very different part of the work life balance. I believe in three places: your work, your home, your third. And we need those third spaces, but your home really needs to be protected. Um, your work needs to be separate. Your third space can be whatever it is. But I don't, especially in the industry that you and I came up in, it became your life.
Yeah.
And all your friends were doing it. People who were outside of it, they didn't get it. And so you couldn't be friends with them. And so you kind of created this environment where everybody in your life was in this industry. And so we all got it. We all got each other. And there was some safety in that. And now I don't do that, but I'm very specific and I'm very direct with my work. I'm like, hey, I have boundaries. It is not to be ugly to you. It's not to be, it's not that I don't want to be a team player, but if we're a team, you also have to consider my boundaries as much as I consider your boundaries. If I'm, if my boundaries aren't being considered, then I'm not on the team. You don't value me on the team. So it has to be balanced. And for me, one of those big things is time. And I've decided, hey, if need be, I can work up to 1 hour after my normal end of day. After that, the place can burn to the ground. They're like, well, sometimes it takes more than an hour. Nope, I agreed to come to work for you from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And sometimes, if it's necessary, I will work almost up to 6 p.m. But I promise you that at 6 p.m., I'm walking out of the door because I still have my life. I still have my responsibilities. I still have hungry little animals at home that need my attention. And I don't have anybody. It's not for me to ask anybody else to take care of my responsibilities. And when I set that boundary, at first, everybody was mad at me. And they were like, we have other people that'll stay here till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And I said, you're abusing those people. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that we can control a lot of toxicity. There's somebody at my work right now who is very angry with me and has been telling lies about me. And and when they come back to me, I'm like, I don't care. It's like if you're coming to tell me, that it's a lie. And it's not like this person's saying that I'm out, like slaughtering cows or something. She tells everybody that I'm really rude to her.
Hmm.
I'm not. I tell her what I need. She gives me something that is not that, and I tell her this is not it. I need this. She's like, well, it's the tone. The tone is you failed to give me what I need. There, you can't put that off on me. That's you. You did
Yeah.
that.
Some people will. It amazes me what some people take to heart and like what they find as rude and things like that. I had a situation early this morning that I guarantee this guy said I was a complete asshole to him. But I was an asshole that was in my lane, I guess. You're the one that merged over, you know. But it'd be like that sometimes, and I had a battalion chief. He told me one time that if you don't have people that don't like you, you're doing something wrong. If you have people that don't like you, you're doing something right.
Yeah, that goes back to that popularity thing. And it's great to be popular, but it's so much better to be popular for the right thing. I there have been people in my life that made hard decisions that didn't always benefit me, but they made the right decision, and so I respect that.
Yes.
And not if you're in a leadership position and you have to make decisions, you can't make them based on what you want someone else's outcome to be. It has to be the right outcome. Now, it's great when it works out, but I have been in situations where uh, people chose their friends to benefit more than they chose to just be flat across the board. And it always builds animosity. It always builds distrust. It always builds all these things.
So
So
once, go ahead.
no, I was just choking to death over here on my own post nasal drip.
Three things that you look for in a good leader to wrap this up.
Consistency, definitely a big one. Um, Competency. Can't tell me to do something wrong. That would be messed up. Um, and a certain compassion to what we're doing.
Hmm,
If
that's good ones.
yeah, I would not want to work with somebody who wasn't passionate about doing it well. I want to see a certain motivation and drive, not to just get by, but to do it well. So, same question back to you.
I look for trustworthiness because, like, look at the industries that we started in and we're where we met at. Like, I've got to have somebody that I trust that's going to be there when push comes to shove. You know, I look for fairness. I think those two go hand in hand. Um, Somebody that's going to stop the favoritism, that's going to do exactly what you did in your situation, where like we're looking at the facts and we're going to figure it out from there. And then competence, that those three have to go hand in hand to me. But I like what you said about compassion. I think that's interesting.
You know, if you hired me to lead a team of maids, I'd fail at it. I'm just, it's something that needs to be done. I clean well, I, you know, but I'm not passionate about it.
Yeah.
I, I don't feel any fire for it. Um, I think there has to be that. And, something with like, especially our industries, especially with EMS, you have a lot of people who wander into it for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be compassionate to those people because they're probably not going to work out. They're probably going to leave for something else. They're probably going to use it as a bridge to something else. Um, you've got a lot of people who come into it and it's a finally kind of thing. Or like, finally, I have this weird, broken, nasty place where I belong. And there's other people like me.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's all they are. Got to have compassion for those people because
Yeah.
they need some guidance. And then you have some people who are really just sold out to it and they're wanting to make it the best they possibly can. And I mean, you got to have compassion for them. You got to let them run because if you don't, we're just going to have a lot of people who are just mumbling through. And so it's, and I think that's true with any industry. Um, you have to accept every piece of the puzzle that you get, even if you're not going to keep it.
Yeah. 100% agree. I think this was a pretty good talk.
I think so as well. I think so as well. I think We fixed some problems in the world. Maybe if somebody sends it up to Pennsylvania Avenue, and he'll be like, "Oh, these guys know what they're talking about. I'm going to implement some of these principles."
The proper Scoundrels is huge. It's huge.
Yes. There's nobody else like them. They're the best ones. I don't
They're
know
not sold
how,
out
but
to China.
we are definitely not Chinese. There's not some Chinese loving going on around here.
I do like Chinese food,
Not a big fan.
really. There's only 3 or 4 dishes that I'll eat from them.
There you go.
Yeah.
You do not like Chinese food. You like fried chicken with sauce on it.
No, I like the black pepper chicken. You had that?
I do not know that is if that is one of the dishes I've had from my favorite Chinese restaurant called Shangri-La.
Shangri-La.
Yes. Dude, this place is awesome. Like, they do not buy breaded chicken. They cut up chicken to make in their dishes.
Ew.
Oh man, yeah, you pay for it.
Where's it at?
Uh, it's on the east side of the town near where I live. If
Hmm.
it's still there, I hope it is. But yeah, they, I like you enjoy 4 meals from Chinese food.
Yeah, that's all I can handle.
Yeah.
Probably
Um,
because I can't pronounce the other ones, so I just go with what I can pronounce.
yeah. Yeah. So now I eat rice like every week. I mean, I make at least one pot of rice a week.
Yeah,
But
rice is every meal for me at least.
yeah, I just can't do every meal. It
I
makes me so
can.
sad. It makes me so sad. Uh, yeah, so I do rice, like I said, at least a pot of rice every week. Um, I do more chicken than anybody else on the planet.
Hmm.
I thought I was going to sneeze, but I didn't. But I have gotten really into uh, grass-fed beef, and I've been getting it on those clearances. I
Mm-hmm.
sent you the picture of it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, Sprouts, they be coming through. Put them
I
yellow
need
tags on it.
I need to go over there one day to be honest with you, but I'm never like that way where there's one close.
Well,
I don't know
I
why Digi's looking at me like this.
that's you see the blue eye, don't you?
I do.
She's like, I know that you're keeping him on this damn computer
Yeah,
when
could
he
be in
could
bed.
be in there cooking some chicken wings. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for dropping in and listening to us. Hope you made it all the way through. We do give special prizes for anybody who makes it all the way through. It's usually just a picture of my dog's butthole as he jumps up onto the bed behind me. But thank you very much and interact with us. It helps us out with the algorithm. Give us a like or don't give us
Like,
those.
share, and subscribe it.
Smash the bell to know when we post again. Hope y'all are all safe. Stay out of fires.
Yes.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.